All right, ready to dive in. We're tackling Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki today. We'll cut through all the hype and get right to the core of his financial philosophy. Sound good?
What's fascinating about Kiyosaki is how he uses his own life, to challenge those traditional money mindsets a lot of us grew up with. He talks about these two father figures. His own dad, super educated but struggled financially, and then his friend's dad, the rich dad, who was a self-made entrepreneur.
It's like he's saying, forget what your parents taught you about money.
Yeah, exactly. And that leads right into his big idea. Assets versus liabilities. You've probably heard the basics. Assets put money in your pocket, liabilities take it out. But then Kiyosaki, he gets bold, claims your house. It's often a liability, not an asset.
Whoa, hold on. Most people see a house as like their biggest investment, something that goes up in value. How can he say it's a liability?
He'd argue, sure, a house might be worth more over time, but it's also eating up your money every month. Mortgage payments, property taxes, all the repairs. So even if your house is technically worth more down the line, you're constantly pouring money in, not seeing any immediate return.
That's a really different way to look at it, especially for anyone who thought owning a home meant financial security. So if the goal is having money work for you, what does Kiyosaki suggest?
That's where his whole work to learn, don't work for money thing comes in. He's all about financial literacy. Understanding how money works is more valuable than just working for a paycheck.
So it's not just about getting a job, but gaining the skills to build real wealth, right?
Exactly. He stresses understanding financial statements, spotting opportunities, making your money work as hard as you do. He's got this great example of turning $2,000 into $40,000 in just 5 hours, flipping a foreclosed house.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. That takes serious know-how, though. He didn't just luck into that, did he?
Not at all. He stresses this kind of success. It takes financial knowledge. He knew how to find the right deal, get financing, and work that market fast.
It's like he's saying, don't just dream of financial freedom. Go get the tools to make it happen.
Absolutely. And that leads into another one of his controversial points, corporations. He says wealthy people, they use corporations to their advantage, especially for taxes.
Okay, I've heard that before, but it always seems kind of mysterious. How do corporations give the wealthy a tax advantage?
Well, one way is through deductions. Corporations, they can often deduct certain business expenses that individuals can't always do. Kiyosaki sees this as a major strategy the wealthy use.
So it's not just about earning, but knowing the rules of the game and playing them strategically.
Exactly. But he also says there are right ways and wrong ways to play. It's super important to get the ethical and legal parts of any financial strategy. But just knowing about these strategies, even if you go a different route, can be really valuable.
Right, so we've got assets versus liabilities, working to learn, and using corporations strategically. It's a lot to process, but Kiyosaki definitely wants us to question what we think we know about money.
He does, and he doesn't stop there. He gets into the personal stuff, too, the things that hold people back from financial success. 5 roadblocks he talks about: fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance.
Okay, let's break those down. Starting with fear, let's face it, finance can be intimidating.
He uses the Alamo not to, celebrate losing, but to show the guts it takes to take a stand even when things look bad. He wants people to see failure as a learning moment, not a reason to quit.
So it's about taking smart risks, knowing setbacks happen, and not letting fear stop you from acting.
Exactly. Now, with cynicism, he says, be analytical, not just negative. For example, if you're scared of real estate because you don't want to fix toilets, he'd say, hire a property manager. Don't let those problems stop you from checking out good opportunities.
Be resourceful, find solutions, don't let cynicism blind you. Love it. What about laziness?
Kiyosaki's pretty blunt. If you won't put in the effort to learn, grow, and take action, financial freedom's probably not happening.
It's about taking charge of your financial future, right?
Absolutely. Don't wait for luck or handouts. He tells the story about his friend's son who wanted a $3,000 car. Instead of just buying it, the friend gave him the $3,000 to invest, plus a subscription to the Wall Street Journal.
Wow, what a lesson. Instead of instant gratification, a crash course in financial literacy.
It's about changing how you see money, going from consumer to creator.
This is really resonating with me. We're talking building assets, questioning the usual advice, and facing our money fears. I'm ready for more. What else does Kiyosaki have for us?
Let's talk bad habits. Those can really sabotage your progress.
Totally. Easy to overspend or put off saving.
Yeah.
What's Kiyosaki's solution?
Pay yourself first is huge for him. Setting aside money for your goals before anything else.
Even before those tempting online sales.
Exactly. Takes discipline, but Kiyosaki believes that habit, consistently prioritizing yourself, it's key.
So resisting those impulses, playing the long game.
He even says use financial pressure as motivation. Instead of freaking out when things get tight, use that to get creative. Break free from the paycheck to paycheck cycle.
That's powerful, reframing those stressful moments. It's like he's saying, don't let setbacks define you, let them fuel your drive.
Exactly. Last roadblock is arrogance, the enemy of learning.
Great time. Thinking you've got it all figured out, recipe for disaster.
He's all about staying humble, learning from others, especially those with more experience. He tells a great story about a talented young author. She was struggling to sell her books, thought she knew it all.
What happened?
Kiyosaki, he told her, learn about sales and marketing. Said, even with amazing talent, you gotta know how to get your work out there.
Recognizing you don't have all the answers, asking for help, always learning.
Exactly, and he takes it further, saying build a team of advisors, brokers, attorneys, accountants, people who can give specialized guidance.
Like your own board of directors. Different perspectives to help you make smarter moves.
You got it. And he stresses choosing advisors who not only know their stuff, but also share your values, your goals, people invested in your success.
So, building that network is key for anyone serious about building wealth. I'm sensing a theme here. Kiyosaki, he values generosity, collaboration. Am I right?
You're onto something. He talks about the Indian giver principle.
That seems kind of counterintuitive. Isn't business about getting ahead, coming out on top?
Kiyosaki flips the script. He says generosity, giving without expecting anything back, can actually be a powerful wealth-building strategy, creating abundance, win-win for everyone.
So sharing your knowledge, resources, time, knowing what you give comes back around.
Exactly. Giving to those in need, forming partnerships. He uses this example of teaching someone how to buy tax liens, when you buy the debt on someone's property. Anyway, he taught this person about that, and turns out the person he taught, they invested too. Ended up being a really successful partnership.
By giving freely, he made a connection that led to more opportunities for both of them. That's amazing.
It's realizing wealth isn't limited. There's enough to go around. Be generous, you open yourself up to new things, attract abundance.
Okay, we've covered a lot. Assets over liabilities, financial knowledge, overcoming obstacles, and embracing generosity. Kiyosaki definitely has a unique view of money. How does he actually suggest putting all of this into practice?
He's all about action, even small steps. He wants readers to become more observant. He gives this example of jogging through a neighborhood, not just for exercise, but to spot changes, a for sale sign, a house being renovated, anything that might signal an opportunity.
So being present, paying attention, seeing what others miss.
Exactly. And when you see it, take action, even if it means rejection. Kiyosaki believes in taking calculated risks, learning from mistakes, not letting fear hold you back.
He embodies that entrepreneurial spirit, right? That willingness to experiment, to learn by doing. What else does he emphasize?
Speed. The finance world moves fast. You got to learn quickly, adapt, and not cling to outdated ideas. He famously said, in today's world, it's not so much what you know anymore, it's how fast you learn.
So relevant, especially today with information always changing. It's not about finding the right answer, but being adaptable, a lifelong learner.
Exactly. And that's where passion comes in. Kiyosaki believes true wealth isn't just money, it's aligning your financial goals with your life's purpose. He uses his own story. He could followed his poor dad into a safe job, but chose a different path, followed his rich dad's advice, became an entrepreneur, an investor.
So finding what excites you, even if you weren't getting paid, and then finding ways to build wealth around it.
Exactly. He wants us to ditch the rat race, design a life we love.
Okay, feeling inspired. But before we get too carried away with passion and purpose, let's come back to something you mentioned earlier, the criticisms of Kiyosaki's work. Some find it overly simplistic or say his real estate focus isn't for everyone. What do you think?
You're right. Rich Dad, Poor Dad isn't a magic solution for everyone. It's important to be critical, do your research, and talk to financial advisors who know your specific situation.
So not blindly following, but taking what works for you, building your own path.
Exactly. His investment strategies might not fit everyone, but his core message, financial literacy, building assets, taking control of your money, that's valuable for anyone. He makes us rethink money and empowers us to create the lives we want.
He's definitely sparked important conversations about wealth and what it means to be financially free. We've covered a lot, but before we move on, let's get into some of those memorable stories Kiyosaki uses to explain his ideas.
One that sticks out is his story about Ray Kroc, the McDonald's guy. Kiyosaki asked MBA students, what business is McDonald's in?
I'm guessing they all shouted hamburgers.
Yep. But Kroc, he surprised him, said he was in the real estate business.
Wow, not what I expected. What was his reasoning?
Kroc knew the real value wasn't just burgers, it was owning the land under those restaurants.
Yeah.
Focusing on assets that appreciate over time.
Powerful reminder to look beyond the obvious, think long term. What other examples show Kiyosaki's principles in action?
He talks about turning $2,000 into $40,000 in 5 hours, flipping a foreclosed house. Now, that kind of quick turnaround might be rare, but it highlights what's possible in real estate.
Incredible. But it wasn't just luck.
Right.
He had the knowledge, the guts to act.
Exactly. Knew how to find a deal, get financing, work the market, understanding how money works, being ready to jump on opportunities.
He also tells a story about starting a business as kids, collecting used toothpaste tubes. Sounds a little strange to the deeper lesson there, right?
Definitely. It flopped, but taught them about creativity, persistence, adding value. Kiyosaki emphasizes that even failures are chances to grow.
Adopting that growth mindset, embracing challenges, learning from setbacks.
Exactly. And remember the story about his friend teaching his son about money? The son who wanted the $3,000 car?
Oh, yeah. The friend used it as a teaching moment.
Exactly. Gave his son the $3,000 to invest, plus a subscription to the Wall Street Journal. Learn about money. Powerful example of using everyday life to teach financial literacy.
Shifting from instant gratification to long-term thinking. Kiyosaki's a natural storyteller. His real-life examples make everything so relatable. What else does he highlight?
He brings up the Indian giver principle again. Generosity building wealth.
Right. Challenging that idea that business is a zero-sum game.
He believes that giving freely your knowledge, resources, time creates a ripple effect. Benefits everyone.
Creating those win-win situations, understanding that success isn't just what you take, but what you contribute.
Exactly. He illustrates this with a story about teaching someone about tax liens. Remember, we talked about those. He shared his knowledge, the person invested, and they ended up as successful partners.
So by sharing, he helped someone else and created new opportunities for himself. That's generosity in action. How else does he weave this idea into his teachings?
He says the Indian giver principle, it applies to everything, networking, building relationships, even making a positive impact on the world.
It's that idea that we're all connected. Helping others succeed creates a richer world for everyone. We've covered a lot about Kiyosaki's ideas and his stories. There's one more piece I find fascinating.
What's that?
His focus on mindset. He believes your thoughts about money have a huge impact on your success.
He's all about that. Your internal world shapes your external reality, he says. He talks about those 5 roadblocks: fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance, and how they hold us back.
So it's not just learning financial strategies, but developing a healthy money mindset.
Exactly. Believing you can build wealth, focusing on abundance, not scarcity, and replacing those limiting beliefs. He emphasizes taking control, not blaming circumstances or making excuses.
Shifting from victim to creator.
Precisely. And surrounding yourself with positive influences. People who support you, inspire you, challenge you.
Creating a supportive environment for financial well-being. I love that. Kiyosaki's teachings go beyond just money strategies. It's like a blueprint for a more fulfilling life.
Exactly. He argues that true wealth isn't just money, it's having the freedom to follow your passions, make a difference, live a life true to you.
Creating a life of purpose, meaning, contribution. Powerful message.
Absolutely. And while his specific investment strategies might not be for everyone, his core message, financial education matters, building assets is key, and anyone can achieve financial freedom with the right mindset. That's powerful and timeless.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad isn't just a get-rich guide. It's a roadmap to a more fulfilling, abundant life.
It's about taking control, defying conventional wisdom, building a life you want.
Well said. We've covered so much in this first part of our deep dive, explored his core concepts, looked at real-life examples, even touched on mindset. But there's still so much more to unpack.
There is. We're just getting started. You know, one of the things that makes Kiyosaki so interesting is how he challenges, the usual thinking about education. He really goes there.
Right. He's not afraid to stir things up.
Sure.
What's his issue with the education system?
He says schools focus way too much on memorizing stuff instead of teaching about money and practical skills. It's all about getting a job, not about financial freedom.
So good grades and a steady paycheck aren't enough.
He says the poor and middle class work for money, but the rich, their money works for them. And it all comes down to what you know about money, right? Financial education.
So if schools aren't really teaching us that, What's the solution? Where do we learn?
He's all about teaching yourself. Read books, go to seminars, find mentors who can teach you about finance, investing, being an entrepreneur.
Take control of your own learning, basically. Find those resources. Always keep learning.
Exactly. And he lives it, doesn't just talk about it. He talks about how he could have listened to his poor dad and gone for the safe job. But he followed his gut, learned from his rich dad, built his own businesses.
It's a good reminder we can choose our own path, even if it means doing things differently.
Absolutely. Now, let's dig into his investment ideas. One of the big ones is investing in things that make money passively.
Right. Making money while you sleep, that's the dream. Tell me more.
He believes real wealth isn't about trading your time for money, like most jobs. It's about owning things that make money without you constantly working.
Okay, what kind of things are we talking about here?
Real estate is a big one for him. Something tangible that can increase in value, generate cash flow, and even has tax advantages. But he also mentions stocks, bonds, and even starting businesses as ways to make passive income.
Diversifying, building multiple streams of income. Got it.
Exactly. Build a portfolio of these income-generating assets, and you can achieve financial freedom. Escape that rat race.
That's a powerful vision. Designing your life, following your passions without money holding you back.
It is, but he's also realistic. Building wealth takes time, effort, and, some risk.
Speaking of risk, he's not afraid of it, is he?
Right.
He seems to see calculated risks as part of the process.
Totally. Playing it safe might feel good in the moment, but it limits your potential. He wants you to get out of that comfort zone, try new things. Don't be afraid to mess up sometimes.
Makes sense. It's like they say, the biggest risk is not taking any risks at all.
Exactly. He's all about embracing mistakes as learning experiences.
So it's about having that growth mindset, learning from those setbacks and using them to make better decisions in the future.
You got it. Now, before we go any further, let's come back to those criticisms of Kiyosaki's work. Some say focusing so much on real estate isn't realistic for everyone, especially those just starting out. What do you think about that?
It's true. Real estate often needs a lot of money up front, and it's not a quick fix. But I think his ideas about understanding the market, using debt wisely, focusing on cash flow, those can apply to other investments too.
I agree. Even if real estate isn't your main strategy, his focus on financial literacy, building assets, creating multiple income streams, those are valuable for everyone.
Absolutely. His work pushes us to think differently about money, take control, and design the lives we want.
And that's a powerful message no matter where you're at financially.
Totally agree. Okay, we've covered a lot in this part of our deep dive. Explored Kiyosaki's thoughts on education, his investment philosophy, and addressed some of the criticisms too.
We also went over some of his memorable stories and talked about how mindset plays a role in achieving financial success.
But there's still so much more to discuss.
Oh yeah, we're just scratching the surface.
All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We're all about taking control of our financial futures, and Kiyosaki has some interesting strategies. One thing that always makes my head spin is taxes. What does Kiyosaki have to say about navigating those?
He sees taxes as this area where the wealthy, they're playing a different game. He says understanding how taxes work and how to maybe reduce what you owe legally, it's key to building wealth.
Right. It's not just what you make, it's what you keep after the government takes its cut. What does he suggest we actually do about it?
He talks about corporations, which we mentioned before. He argues that corporations, they've got these tax advantages that individuals don't, like deducting business expenses. He's big on understanding different types of income, too, like earned income versus passive income, and how they're taxed differently.
So it's not just working hard and earning more, it's being smart about how that income is structured, minimizing what you owe in taxes.
Exactly. But got to be careful here. Kiyosaki's been criticized for his tax views. Some say his strategies are too aggressive, even unethical. Important to remember, tax laws are complicated, and they change all the time. What's okay in one situation might not be in another. Always best to talk to a tax expert before making any big financial moves.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, but you got to use it responsibly. We've talked about financial literacy, questioning the usual advice, understanding taxes. What about those internal roadblocks we talked about? How do we actually overcome those, according to Kiyosaki?
He's got some down-to-earth advice for those 5 big ones: fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance. For fear, he says, learn as much as you can and take calculated risks. The more you know about money, the less scary it all seems.
So face your fears, get informed, and take action, even if it's a little scary at first.
Exactly. Now, cynicism, he wants you to be analytical, not just negative. Instead of focusing on why something won't work, try to find solutions, see different angles. Remember his advice about being a landlord.
Oh, yeah. Don't want to deal with repairs? Hire someone.
Right. Be resourceful. Don't let problems stop you from seeing the opportunities.
Love it. Now, laziness. He's pretty straightforward on that one.
He is. Financial freedom takes work, discipline, no way around it. He says, stop making excuses and take charge of your financial future.
Shift from passive to active. Don't wait for things to happen, make them happen. What about bad habits? Those can be hard to break.
Absolutely. He's all about identifying your bad patterns with money and replacing them with good ones. Overspending. Make a budget, track everything, cut back where you can. Remember, pay yourself first.
Right. Take care of your financial goals before anything else.
Exactly. Make your financial well-being a priority. Build a system that works.
And lastly, arrogance can really hold you back.
He thinks arrogance is a huge wealth killer. Stops you from learning, from admitting mistakes, from seeing other people's points of view.
Being humble, realizing you don't know everything, being open to learning from others.
Exactly. He says surround yourself with mentors, advisors, friends who are smarter than you, people who challenge you and help you grow.
This has been an amazing deep dive. We've talked about questioning everything, assets and liabilities, the importance of financial education, overcoming our own bad habits. As we wrap up, what are your final thoughts for our listeners as they think about everything they've learned from Rich Dad, Poor Dad?
The most important thing is, remember, Rich Dad, Poor Dad isn't the be-all and end-all. It's not about blindly following rules. It's about starting a conversation with yourself, questioning your own ideas about money, and taking control of your financial future.
Empower yourself with knowledge, challenge assumptions, create a plan that reflects your values and goals.
Exactly. Kiyosaki wants us to be proactive, not reactive, with our money. He wants us in the driver's seat, making choices that build long-term financial well-being.
Whether you agree with everything he says, there's no denying Rich Dad, Poor Dad makes you think differently about money, about your relationship with it.
It's a book that can inspire you, make you think bigger, take control, and design a life with more freedom, purpose, and abundance.
And what's more empowering than that? This deep dive has really challenged me to rethink some of my own beliefs about money. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey through Rich Dad, Poor Dad. We hope it's given you a lot to think about as you create your own path to financial freedom.
It's been great. And remember, your journey is unique. Take what works for you from Kiyosaki's ideas, make it your own, and never stop learning and growing.